Complete Works by Josephus Flavius, Book 1, Chapter 1, containing the interval of the of 3,833 years from the creation to the death of Isaac. Chapter 1, the constitution of the world and the disposition of the elements. In the beginning, the Most High Yahweh God created heaven and the earth. But when the earth did not come into sight, but was covered with thick darkness, and a wind moved upon its surface, God Yahweh commanded that there should be light. And when that was made, he considered that the whole mass and separated the light and the darkness. And the same name he gave one was night, and the other one he called day. And he named the beginning of light and the time of rest, the evening and the morning. And this was indeed the first day. But when Moses said it was one day, the cause of which I am able to give even now, but because I have promised to give such reasons for all things in a treatise by itself, I shall put off its exposition till that time. After this, the second day, he placed the heaven over the whole world and spread and over the whole world and separated it, from the other parts, and he determined that it should stand by itself. He also placed a firmament around it and put it together in a manner agreeable to the earth, and fitted it for giving moisture and rain and affording the advantage of dews. On the third day he appointed the dry land to appear with the sea itself round about, and on the other same day he made the plants and the seeds to spring out of the earth. On the fourth day he adorned the heaven with the sun, the moon, and the other stars, and appointed them their motions and courses, that the vicissitudes of the seasons might be clearly signified. On the fifth day he produced the living creatures, both those that swim and those that fly, the former in the sea and the latter in the air. He also sorted them as to society and mixture for procreation, and that their kinds might increase and multiply. On the sixth day he created the four-footed beast and made them male and female. On the same day he also formed man according to Moses, that in just 6 days the world and all that is therein was made. And that the seventh day was a rest and a release from the labor of such operations, whence it is that we celebrate a rest from our labors. On that day called it the Shabbat. Which word denotes rest in the Hebrew tongue. Moreover, Moses after the seventh day was over, begins to talk philosophically concerning the formation of man. Says thus, that the Most High Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai Elohim took dust from the ground and formed man and inserted him a spirit and a soul. This man was called Adam, which in the Hebrew tongue signifies one that is red, because he was formed out of red earth, compounded together, for of that kind is virgin and true earth. Yahweh Elohim God also presented the living creature when he had made them according to their kinds, both male and female, to Adam, who gave them those names by which they are still called. But when he saw that Adam had no female companion, no society, for there was no such created, and he wondered at the other animals which were male and female, he laid him to sleep and took away one of his ribs, and outformed the woman, whereupon Adam knew her when she was brought to him, and acknowledged that she was made out of himself. Now a woman is called in the Hebrew tongue Issa, but the name of this woman was Eve, which signifies the mother of all living. 3. Moses says further that the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai planted a paradise in the east flourishing with all sorts of trees, and that among them was the tree of life, and another of knowledge, whereby was to be known what was good and evil, and that when he brought Adam and his wife into this garden, he commanded them to take care of the plants. Now the garden was watered by one river, which ran round about the whole earth, and was parted into 4 parts, and Phaison, which denotes a multitude running into India, makes its exit into the sea, and is by the Greeks called Ganges. Euphrates also, as well as Tigris, goes down into the Red Sea. Now the name of Euphrates or Fraf denotes either dispersion or a flower. By Tigris or Diklah is signified what is swift, that with narrowness of Gihon runs through Egypt, which is also known as Kemet, and denotes what rises from the east, which the Greeks call Nile. Yahweh Elohim, God, power, therefore commanded that Adam and his wife should eat all of the rest of the plants, but to abstain from the tree of knowledge, and foretold to them that if they touched it, it will prove their destruction. But while all the living creatures had one language, at that time the serpent, which then lived together with Adam and his wife, showed an envious disposition at his proposal of their living happily and in obedience to the commands of the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai Elohim power, and imagining that when they disobeyed them they would fall into calamities, he persuaded the woman out of a malicious intent to haste of the tree of knowledge, telling them that in that tree was the knowledge of good and evil, which knowledge when they should obtain, they would lead a happy life, nay, a life not inferior to that of a god, by which means he overcame the woman and persuaded her to despise the command of the Most High Yahweh Elohim power God. Now when she had tasted of the tree and was pleased with its fruit, she persuaded Adam to make use of it also. I'm not sure who translated these by Josephus. I'm not even sure if Josephus wrote it like this, but the trees are representations of other people that had a doctrine already that were there, because as I read through, which is mainly correct, a lot of animals and things came out from the sea. So did a group of people that just didn't have what Adam had, which is the breath of life, and they weren't chosen like Adam to oversee everything, which Adam was a model on earth, modeled after those that made him. So the tree or the fruit that was consumed is not a physical fruit. It's a doctrine that was accepted that pushed them further away from the commandments and what the Most High wanted them to do and live like. She persuaded Adam to make use of it also. Upon this they perceived that they were become naked to one another, and being ashamed thus to appear abroad, they invented somewhat to cover them. For the tree sharpened their understanding, and they covered themselves with fig leaves, and trying these before them out of modesty. They thought they were happier than they were before, as they had discovered what they were in want of. But when the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, power of God, came into the garden, Adam, who was wont before to come and converse with him, being conscious of his wicked behavior, went out of the way. This behavior surprised the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Elohim, power of God, and he asked what was the cause of this procedure, and why he that before delighted in conversation did now fly from it and avoid it. When he made no reply, as a conscious to himself, he had transgressed the command of the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Elohim, God, said, I had before determined about you both how you might lead a happy life without any affliction and care and vexation of soul, and all that things which might contribute to your enjoyment and pleasure should grow up by providence of their own accord without your own labor and painstaking, which state of labor and painstaking would soon bring on old age, and death would not be any remote distance. But now thou hast abused this my good will, and hast disobeyed my commands. For thy silence is not the sign of thy virtue, but of thy evil conscience. However, Adam excused his sin and entreated Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Elohim, God, not to be angry at him, and laid the blame of what was done upon his wife, and said that he was deceived by her, and thence became an offender, while she again accused the serpent. But the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Elohim, God, allowed him punishment because he weakly submitted to the counsel of his wife, and said the ground should not henceforth yield its fruit of its own accord, but that when it should be harassed by their labor, it should bring forth some of its own fruits, and refuse to bring forth others. He also made evil liable to the conveniency of its breeding, and sharp pains of bringing forth children. This because she persuaded Adam with the same arguments wherewith the serpent had persuaded her, and thereby, and the serpent, that was according to my elders, the elders and the apostles, of GMS, and of course my brother Quan 144. The serpent was definitely a magician-like entity. Persuaded her, and had thereby brought him into a calamitous condition. He also deprived the serpent of speech and indignation at his malicious disposition towards Adam. Besides this, he inserted position under his tongue, and made him an enemy to man, and suggested to them that they should direct the strokes against his head, and that being the place wherein lay his mischievous designs towards men, and it being easiest to take vengeance on him that way. And when he had deprived him of the use of his feet, and made him go rolling all along, and dragging himself upon the ground, and when the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Elohim, God, had appointed these penalties for them, he removed Adam and Eve out of the garden into another place. So we'll be going into chapter 2 very soon. All praises to the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai.